Hello and welcome to another episode of Agri Art. During the 1500s, several tapestries were woven for Ferrante Gonzaga, Duke of Arignano, Prince of Mofetta, and Lord of Gustavalola, as well as the Vice-Regent of Naples and the Governor of Milan. These tapestries were woven between 1552 to 1557. They are created by the weaver William de Pennemaker of Brussels, Belgium. He was well known at the time for his use of golden thread and silver thread, and many silks of many colors. Preservation of these tapestries owes much of their presence as a consequence on how these tapestries were used. These tapestries were only unveiled during ceremonial purposes such as weddings, bank loans, and other legalese situations. These tapestries were also never hung in tents during battles. Ferrante Gonzaga died on the year of the completion of these tapestries, however. All the details of the commissioning were then categorized and archived by Mr. Clifford M. Brown and Guy Darmarcel. As a consequence, all the details of the banking transactions of the Venetian Bank were in the hands of Ferrante II. This occurred by 1590. The full bank details were then put into public domain by 1709, although by that point, much of the writings had been copied so many times that the details became lacking. Those who held those paintings and tapestries can be traced through a number of families, right to the present day through the Marzotto collection at Triestino, where a special gallery was built to display them. Many of these illustrations had plants involved, usually for gardens or agriculture. Unlike many other tapestries of that era, the plants were drawn out in quite a high level of detail and not stylized to a high degree. As such, in order to figure out what cultivars and species were available at that time for gardens, these tapestries must be analyzed. As many of the ornamental plants of Northern Europe came from Italy, a full analysis of these paintings and tapestries would provide high levels of insight on what cultivars would become available to Europe, and from where many of the Northern European cultivars of different crops, ornamental and otherwise, derive. This paper was written by Dr. William C. Noble in the journal Garden History in October 2005. And it'll be from his analysis that we'll draw conclusions from. Let's get started. 6 tapestries were created to celebrate the harvest of grapes for a production of wine. These tapestries depict vines of grapes trained up into oak trees that have been worked into living trellis-like structures. 3 of the tapestries contain 2 pairs of oaks which support the vines. The other tapestries have 3, 4, and 10 pairs respectively. The last tapestry mentioned depict the use of these oaks to help bear the vine, but all tapestries depict the use of vines in combination with different training devices and twine, maintain the shape and structure of the vines. The pergola structures are central within the tapestry, filling 30 to 40% of the picture, and are aligned so that the viewer looks straight at these structures. All 6 tapestries depict small children, akin to angel wings, picking grapes. 5 out of the 6 tapestries depict a background formed chiefly of hilly, wooded landscape, reflecting the idealized medieval township of that era. Not the actual one, by the way. Idealism was big in the medieval era. The last mentioned tapestry depicts this grapevine structure within a Renaissance town, depicted in a linear perspective. The number of oaks in the Puttini tapestries depicting grapes are suggested to be a sequence of the chronology of how each one was developed. Like the one with 1 pair was drawn on first, the one with 2 pairs was drawn second, and so on and so forth. This was suggested by Mr. Brown and Mr. Delmarcel. The foreground also contains various plants sparsely grown throughout the area, most of which are Northern European plants of various sorts, such as pasque flowers, the common weed known as a plantain, and some selected garden flowers. The first tapestry you'll cover is called the City. These are the 2 pairs of oaks in front of an idealized Italian Renaissance town, seen in a linear perspective. Small children harvest grapes in play. The most easily recognizable native plants are Anemone nemorosa, a strawberry plant in flower and fruit, the Geranium species Geranium pratensis, the pasque flower, the red champion, garden cultivars of red and white poppy with decorative edged petals, and a regular poppy. The next painting is called a hare. It has two pairs of oaks holding up grapevines. The children, called Puttini, are harvesting grapes, and 3 of these children have caught a hare, a symbol of fecundity and childbirth. Several weeds are depicted, such as the common plantain, the white clover, and native plant species like campanula. There's also a lunaria species depicted, as well as poppy species, specifically Papaver roahes, the species mullein, or Verbicascum lichenus, and a red and white rose resembling Rosamundi, a Gallica rose, are also depicted in its tapestry. The next one listed is called the hobby horse. It also has 2 pairs of oaks. Small children harvest grapes, and one has a rudimentary hobby horse. 2 others have a cross-shaped staff bearing branches of grapes, decorated with a long red streamer, possibly a representation of the resurrection. Several weeds are also depicted within this framework: red bindweed, buttercup, common plantain, Ranunculus acris, dandelion, and the native mallow. The next tapestry is called the goat. 3 pairs of oaks are depicted here. Small children once again harvest grapes on top of a domesticated goat that wears a collar and a bell, possibly representing the Roman god of wine, Bacchus. Weeds depicted include the lance-leaf plantain and the dandelion. Native plants depicted include the red daisy, Bellis perennis, Campella species, Centuria cyanus, the snowdrop plant, Lycomatia numivaria, white champion, and garden cultivars of daffodil, pink trumpet, and the red and white poppy. Based on the current information obtained through the writers Brown and Del Marcel, as well as full analysis of the paintings, indicates that the original paintings were conceived within a northern Italian town, likely Milan. But outside of that, most of the plants seem to be native to Brussels, with none of them being native to Italy, indicating that the depictions reflect a mixture of Belgian horticulture and Italian townships. Unlike most other tapestries of that era, these plants were portrayed very realistically. The common strategy was something called millefleur, where an entire tapestry could be filled up with flowers that were portrayed very stylistically and symmetrical without roots. These are broadly based off of the drawings of Dioscorides in ancient times. Unlike the other tapestries, however, the Puttini tapestries were far more realistically drawn. As a consequence, we could identify many of the species. The oak species in particular was identified as Quercus robar due to the short leaf stems and long, slender, regular stems. A realistic depiction of both lichens and mosses were also found, showcasing a very detailed-oriented painter and botanist. In general, within Flemish regions, paintings depicting plants became more and more realistic over time, and simultaneously, the art became more mythologized. Illustrations of decorative cultivars are rare in the mid-16th century art, with most of the cultivars being present were close to the wild species. Many paintings depict cultivars that resemble the wild type in one form or another. Although by the next century, cultivation of various species to create more varied colorations and physiologies will be present. Indeed, by 1613, 37 daffodil cultivars, 21 roses, and 11 poppy cultivars will be bred in Nuremberg. Several of these cultivars may represent an intermediary step between fully cultivated flowers and the crazy heirlooms that would follow. And that about covers everything. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you really enjoyed it and think you can donate, you can do so at Buy Me a Coffee, link in the description below. Thank you for watching.